Good evening, Dolphins fans. Welcome to another episode here of On the FinSide here with Kat and Paul. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. I'm Brian Cat NFL on Twitter. Paul is fanatic_pick. The Dolphins go down today 31-28 in Miami, fall to 2-0 or 0-2 on the year. The Bills rise to 2-0. You know, we're starting to see one of these teams take control here in the AFC East, just 2 games into the season. Just a really strange game. I mean, this is one that we get at the end of the first quarter and half the stadium loses power. You know, I couldn't see the game for about 15 minutes. Then there's a 36-minute thunderstorm delay. But, Paul, in the middle of that, Josh Allen goes off. 417 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. You know, just a shame at the beginning. Byron Jones goes down on the first drive of the game covering Stephon Diggs. And I don't know how much difference that would have made and overall how the Dolphins did on defense, but it got ugly with 417 yards by Josh Allen.
It did. There were a few surprises. I don't think Allen really beat us with his legs today. I believe he had like 18 yards rushing, some ridiculously low number. He was pretty elusive in the backfield, and I don't think Jones would have helped, even though he's obviously a very good player for our secondary. I think the bigger issue here is our pass rush is not as existent as we were hoping or expecting it would be, and you can't ask our DBs, no matter how all world they are. I don't care who you got back there. You can't ask our DBs to cover guys for 4, 5, 6 seconds on a regular basis. It's not going to happen play in and play out. And I don't care who the quarterback is, they're going to pick you apart in those scenarios.
Yeah, on the defensive side of the ball, well said. I mean, you know, I think a lot of people got used to this idea, and we may have fallen victim to it as well, that you don't really need a pass rush in this type of defense. You play from the back to the front, but this is a different thing, man. And the Dolphins spent a lot of money. Shaq Lawson and Emmanuel Ogbah are making $7-8 million a year to play off the edge and provide pressure. Ogbah got home a couple of times. One time, Josh Allen slipped from him and threw a touchdown to Gabe Davis that made it 24-20. Shaq Lawson, I don't even know if he plays on this team. And Raekwon Davis right now is a joke. This guy shouldn't be on the field. I thought this guy would at least get in the way on first down at 6'7", 310 pounds. I mean, it's so to me, it's that, and there are 3 players on defense to me that just suck right now. Shaq Lawson, Raekwon Davis, and most importantly, Bobby McCain should never play free safety and shouldn't have from the beginning.
So I know the play that pissed you off the most with McCain. It was that long touchdown, and Xavier Howard already has come out and said he blew that coverage. So I'll give you 2 out of 3 from me on that. I mean, Bobby's not going to be an all-world free safety, but you actually brought up an interesting point for me with Raekwon Davis. It's anybody that's followed our show throughout the draft process, et cetera, and anybody that's really listened to our show for a while knows I love a big bruising running back. I know there were guys on the table that are doing well already and have had their chances. I really wish. So here's 3 things that if any one of these 3 things had happened, I think Miami won today. 1, Preston Williams does not drop that pass in the end zone. Miami wins. 2, Ogbah holds on that sack play. 3, if they had drafted A.J. Dillon instead of Raekwon Davis, and he was able to smash right up the middle on short yardage scenarios, we won today. Any of those 3 things, any one of them, and this team won the game today.
Yeah, I mean, A.J. Dillon with the Packers, I don't know if he's done a whole heck of a lot with them. So I'm not, you know, maybe I don't know with that. I mean, Aaron Jones goes off for 170 yards. 70 receiving yards with the Packers. He's the player of the week,
I
offensive
think
player of the week for sure.
I
But
think Dylan
you
averaged
know,
4 yards a carry today.
okay, okay. Yeah, but at the running back spot, I didn't have a big problem with Miles Gaskin or Matt Breida. In fact, I'll go a step further. Miles Gaskin, I was definitely wrong about. I mean, he looks like somebody who shouldn't break a lot of tackles, but he does, and he's also very fluid in the passing game too. I've got no problem with him. I've got no problem with Matt Breida. Jordan Howard should never see the field. Chandler Cox should never see the field. These are two useless football players.
I'll give Jordan Howard a little bit of a pass because I'm gonna put an asterisk next to what you just said. I don't want to see Jordan Howard in critical moments right now. If you're trying to get back his confidence, see if he's got any of that form that he had before, fine. Not in critical moments, not in moments where it's a tight game, not in moments where if he misses, you don't have any more chances. Any of those three scenarios right now, I'm over it. Put Gaskins out there.
Yeah, I don't see one thing Jordan Howard can do that the other three running backs on this roster can't do. On the season. What he had 5 carries for 4 yards and a touchdown today. I mean, he's doing his best Kalen Balaj impression now. I mean, what on the year he's got? What is it? 13 carries for 11 yards and 2 touchdowns. Congratulations, Jordan Howard. I don't see any touchdown run he made that the other running backs on the roster couldn't make. And again, Chandler Cox, he may be decent in pass protection. He may be a decent blocker, but again, the guy never touches the football. You're putting a useless player out there on the football field. Durham Smythe, I don't think caught a pass again today, and he sees a lot of snaps out there. So, but I will say too that at the wide receiver position and the tight end spot, definitely a better day getting open by these guys. Devontae Parker, I was impressed. He played through injuries today and five catches, 53 yards. Preston Williams had that 26-yard catch, but had that terrible drop on that fourth down. And Isaiah Ford bounces back, 7 catches, 76 yards. Mike Gesicki played out of his mind today. 8 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown. These were not easy grabs either.
No, he really impressed me today. I think we're seeing him take it to the next level. I wish he could block, but at the same time, he does so many special things fighting for that ball in the air and winning those contested catches that I want to see them stop trying to force feed the ball to Preston Williams at this point till he figures out whatever the hell's going on with him. Last week we watched him fall down a few times, cause problems. This week he drops the critical ball in the end zone. I believe he was targeted 5 times, came away with 1 reception for 26 yards, and looked pedestrian and really just irritated me at times. Once we started going to Isaiah Ford, once we started going to Gesicki, once we started going to Grant, once we started going to Parker, that's when we saw the offense really start to click down the stretch, and they really got away from Williams and all of that.
Yeah, you bet. And Williams is a dangerous receiver because he's very mistake prone, and he's also not somebody. He's somebody that's going to have to get his yardage in traffic, and when that happens, we've seen the last 2 weeks that a lot can go wrong in those circumstances. We saw last week where he slips and Stephon Gilmore is right behind him and makes the pick. I mean, and that's kind of the thing with Fitzpatrick as well, is that he's going to identify the one-on-one coverage quickly. He's going to get the ball out of his hands quickly, regardless of who's out there in the secondary. And in doing that, he's often going against Stephon Gilmore and Tre'Davious White in one-on-one situations, which can lead to a lot of mistakes. But no interceptions from Ryan Fitzpatrick today, 328 yards, 2 touchdowns. And that's kind of the frustrating thing about it, Paul, is we're looking for positive steps here from this young team, and Ryan Fitzpatrick was one of the shining stars today.
He was, but at the same time, I think some of the supporting cast around him did well. I think overall the O-line played well, minus a few gaffes by Jesse Davis, who none of us are thrilled with at right tackle. He's serviceable. He's good. He's not great. He's more of a swing player. We've been through all those things. One of the things I actually want to address two quick things here um, from our chat. Ron, good job bringing that up. There was actually a fourth thing that I meant to mention, and it slipped my mind with all the other apocalyptic things in this game today. The if Kyle Van Noy had one more inch on his vertical, we win that game today, despite some still flawed play I see from him. And look, Troy Ortiz, I don't think it's Preston's knee that's the issue. I think it's his hands, and he's not back to football yet. I think his knee is fine. I think it's just the rest of his game that's suffering.
Even if he lost a slight step with that knee, it's a step he can't afford to lose. This is not a springy type of boundary receiver. He can't bring it like Gesicki and Devontae Parker can physically. He's got to be somebody that's that power forward that boxes people out. And if the ball's going off his hands and he's not creating separation, then he he's not going to be a very productive receiver. If you target him 10 times, he's probably going to have 5 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown, but a lot of receivers in this league can as well. Going back to the offensive line there. Yeah. I mean, I think that is also a bright spot, and offensively, hey, there are bright spots because the Dolphins scored 28 points. They had right around 400 total yards on offense. And offensively, you can make the argument that they should have won the game. So there are a lot of good things. Solomon Kindley, again, I'm going to have to look at the game film tomorrow. I thought he played very well. Austin Jackson, you don't hear his name very often, and that's a very good thing. Eric Flowers gave up a key sack on a safety blitz by Jordan Poyer. Ted Karras, I thought, played better. But yeah, right now, and this is a compliment to the offensive line, the weak link is certainly Jesse Davis, who got whipped twice today by Jerry Hughes for big time pressures.
Now, to whip somebody, don't you have to actually touch them? Because
But
there wasn't contact.
well, and on top of that, on both of those plays, the running back chipped the defensive lineman, and Jesse Davis still couldn't get a block on him. So, you know, I'm very much looking forward to Robert Hunt getting in there at right tackle. If he can't overtake Jesse Davis by the end of the year at right tackle, there's a problem.
Yeah, and I will say I was bummed about Hunt when Jesse Davis beat him out. But when I've seen Hunt get in there as that additional offensive lineman playing the big tight end at times, it's Hunt has done really well playing off the edge of that O line against folks. So it makes it even more mystifying to me, other than the leadership bit that people have quoted. And yeah, Ron Kinley really did maul a guy at the goal line. It was beautiful. It's I continue to be impressed by him. And you know what? Flowers let up a sack, but I'm gonna not get too upset about that one. He's played really well, and you don't really hear his name either at times. So it's the O line is no longer a weak link anymore.
Yeah, the Bills had 3 sacks, but overall, I like that the offensive line can just we're not constantly seeing. I know it's a low bar to hit, but unlike previous years, we're not constantly seeing this offensive line ruin drives with penalties and with getting mauled like we've seen in previous years with Julian Davenport and Shaq Calhoun and Darren College and geez, I mean,
The Penguin.
the Penguin, yeah, some of these players, and at running back, Miles Gaskin and Matt Breida, 14 carries for 83 yards combined. It's a healthy yards per carry. And I think when they get the ball in their hands, they not only get what's blocked, but they also have the speed to get more. And that's what I think they need to stick with. And I know we got a little criticism last week for talking about Robert Hunt as a sixth offensive lineman. I mean, look, would you rather have Robert Hunt out there as your sixth guy, or would you rather have Durham Smythe, who never catches a pass and is an okay blocker? That's never made sense to me.
Yeah, no, it's the only thing I'd say is I'd rather have Jesse Davis be that sixth guy coming in and fill in that role. But that aside, I'm kind of intrigued by Hunt. I really like this young core we have on the line. I like the fact that we've got him locked up overall for a few years. And it's just so nice after the past decade or so to say the O-line is not an issue anymore. It's not perfect by any means. You can always improve it, but it is not what kills games for us. Now, Kat, one of the things I want to ask you about here before we dive into things is Fitzpatrick played well today. I liked the 2-minute offense from him. I liked a little bit more urgency when we got to it. But I noticed this. We talked about it off the air before the show. We've had a few listeners ask a few questions about it. So I think you know which direction I'm heading here with this question. But Tua was standing there in the fourth quarter with his helmet on, looking ready to go in the game. Normally, you don't see that from a quarterback unless somebody's kind of tagged him to stand there and be ready. Do you think we almost saw Tua today? When do you think we actually see the guy?
No, I don't think we quite got there largely because, if Fitzpatrick had, another 3 interception first half, then I think that's a different story. If the rest of the entire roster were playing very well and Fitzpatrick wasn't, then maybe we start looking at that in that direction. But I don't think it got close today. That's just my personal opinion. I think we've got a couple of games left. Before Tua gets in. Ideally, I would like to see him get in. You got the Jaguars on Thursday. You've got then you've got the Seahawks and the 49ers. I'd like to see Tua get in after that. If not, sometime between week 5 and week 10. But one thing that I don't know if it'll come into play or not, Justin Herbert gets in for the Chargers today because Tyrod Taylor pulls a chest muscle in warmups. I don't know how you do that, but he goes 22 for 33, over 300 yards. Almost beats the Kansas City Chiefs. So he had an impressive first showing. And if Herbert had won that game, and then you got the Dolphins sitting there at 0-2. I wonder if would have started to be a little bit of pressure on the Dolphins to play Tua.
I think so, but I also will say I think we were a lot closer to seeing Tua today. Mysteriously to me, it wasn't really a situation that felt like it demanded Tua be put on the field or demanded Fitzpatrick come off. I think, in all honesty, this week felt more like Fitzpatrick should be out there than last week did. But you don't see a player on the side unless there was some special package they were going to throw him in for a couple of plays. I'm not sure. Maybe there was that package with Bowden that they were going to finally unveil for us. But in reality, I think we were a lot closer than expected. And it is rough when we're sitting at 0-2 and we're watching Burrow on Thursday Night Football in prime time take a pounding and still kind of lead his team and keep him in the fight the whole way through, kicking and screaming as he had to drag him. And then you see Justin Herbert, who, and it's a bad day to say it with the day Tannehill had, but reminds me a lot of Tannehill, go out and really lead his team as well and play well. And we've got this guy Tua sitting on the sidelines. We're at 0-2, and we haven't seen him yet. And it's weird to hear that from me, but it's all right. Let's start kicking the tires if we're not going to get it done.
Yeah, two things there is, it is tough when you've got 3 of the top 6 picks in the draft are Joe Burrow, Tua, and Justin Herbert. And this week you see Joe Burrow and Herbert throw for over 300 yards in their games. And you've got Tua on the bench for an 0-2 team. I understand that. I'm not incredibly picky on when Tua goes in. I'm really not. It's just under 2 circumstances. Number one, the Dolphins offensive line cannot be horrible. That's number one. And it looks like that may not be the case. The weak link is Jesse Davis, a right tackle. And then secondly, if Tua gets in, you do not take him out until you've decided that he will never be your franchise quarterback. What I will not be able to stand is, let's put Tua in and then let's take him out a couple weeks later. This offensive line's not looking great. We don't want to ruin the guy. That's what I don't want. So, I think their Dolphins are still picking the right moment here to put Tua in.
Now, Kat, I know we're going to get to our grades here in a minute. Real quick, because there was a lot of things about this out on Twitter today. I know you and I have talked about it before. I'm not impressed with Chan Gailey yet, and I'm not impressed on the defensive side of the ball either. I thought we had some mystifying coverages that we didn't adapt to today. I don't know why Igbenogany was covering Diggs nearly all game. Somebody already brought it up in chat here. I don't know why we've got Jerome Baker covering Beasley. Um, it's some of our coverages. Either we're getting outsmarted or they're just designed stupidly at this point.
You know, I'm not quite sure, but I can tell you that the talent is certainly not helping out either. I thought the Dolphins would be able to win from the secondary to the defensive line, and it seems like I overestimated that a lot. And Byron Jones definitely hurt that too. But when I look at this defense, the way I sum it up right now uh, is you have no pass rush. Shaq Lawson and Emmanuel Ogbor are not getting it done. Raekwon Davis is playing way too many snaps. And then in the middle, when you look down the gun barrel of the defense in the middle with the inside linebackers and the safeties, I think Bobby McCain is playing terrible. And yes, Xavier Howard did take credit for that long pass, but it is constant with Bobby McCain that he can't get to a spot quick enough. Eric Rowe's okay. Jerome Baker is hit and miss. He's either making a big play or he's getting run over. And they're missing Raekwon McMillan badly at the inside linebacker spot. So there's a lot of problems on the defensive side of the ball. And going back to what Ron said in the chat, yeah, Kyle Van Noy did drop an interception today. Xavier Howard dropped an interception. Eric Rowe dropped an interception. Noah Igbenogany was close enough to get one or two as well. So there are just missed opportunities as far as playmaking on the defensive side of the ball too.
There are, and I am glad to see that, as opposed to last year, uh, disregarding that stretch at the end of the year, we're we're finally able to talk about it as a game of moments again, where any one of these moments that bounced a different way, this really could have been a whole different ball game. And while overall I expected the Bills to win today, I did have some optimism with this team, hoping that they develop a little bit and play up a little bit this week. I want to see guys like Strobridge and Perry active. I want to see those formations with Bowden. But again, it's this game came down to the wire. It really, truly did, and I see a lot of improvement with this team.
Yeah, it's better than last year, especially at the beginning of the year. But that was a dumpster fire at the beginning last year. I think I'll say this. I think the team will be better as the year goes along. That's what I can say. It's been a weird off season. I think Tua gets in at a certain point, and that rejuvenates the team a little bit. Um, and I think Tua is mature enough to handle it. I think defensively, the pieces are going to start melding together a lot more, but they definitely have to get they definitely have to get some pressure on the quarterback or some punch inside. I mean, there just has been none of that. They're just playing on their heels. They're getting run over on the inside. So yeah, not a lot of good situations here. And a shocking stat here too is when you look at the beginning of the third quarter of the Patriots game to the middle of the second quarter of the Bills game, so 3.5 quarters, you had 6 drives by the Patriots and the Bills of 73 or more yards. I mean, that is just getting your rear end kicked throughout the entire game. So needs to change. I mean, that's for sure. And hopefully the Dolphins can get Byron Jones back soon and start winning some of these matchups in the secondary.
I think they will. I don't think Jones is hurt too badly. At least fingers crossed. I mean, but again, we're going to be on to the Jags. Let's go ahead and knock out our grades here and make sure we're in good shape there.
Yeah. So let's start at the quarterback spot. I mean, like we said, Fitzpatrick. Look, I think there are periods in the game where it looks like it takes so much for him to throw the ball compared to last year. That's very concerning, and that's lends itself to why Tua might get in sooner. But 320 something yards, 2 touchdowns. Dolphins score 28 points. I'm going to give him a B plus. The only reason I'm not kicking it up to an A is because I do think there are 4 or 5 passes really in a span of about 10 passes that he threw that very easily could have been intercepted. But I can't argue with the numbers or the points that he put up as a quarterback.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a B plus for Fitz. I think he kept us in this game today. I know a few folks thought I was down on him with some of my comments earlier. but it's he really kept us in this game. But I think you hit the nail on the head. He doesn't look like he's got the same magic this year that we saw last year, and I'm good with what he is, but I think it's he's putting his own ticking clock on himself if he plays up and down like he did today. I think he's more invigorated playing in that 2 minute run around offense. And I hate to say it, I think that the offensive line playing well is part of the problem because I think he gets emotional when he gets run around, makes plays with his feet, makes goofy plays, and runs into people and slings it all over the place. And I think this offense is asking him to be a little more disciplined with it.
Yeah, when you look at that pass that he threw right before the 36-minute break, where the line broke down and Fitzpatrick stepped up and hit Gesicki for that long pass. That's kind of the Fitzpatrick that we've seen. Just like you said, when he's running around scared, he plays his best football, which is not it's not great for success long term at the quarterback spot. So, running back, I'm going to kick it back to you.
I really liked what I saw from Gaskins. I liked seeing Breda get in the mix a little bit more today. Honestly, I would have preferred to see a lot more Laird than Jordan Howard in this one. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with a B minus. I think Jordan Howard drags his grade down.
Yeah, I hate to repeat you, but that's exactly what I had as well. I mean, look, and I've always said this about the quote power running backs, which I don't think. I mean, look, Howard will get what's blocked, but Gaskin and Breida are going to be more active in the passing game. They're going to get to a spot faster. They're going to get 3 yards into the hole, so they don't have to break tackles. That's their game. They're faster backs. I'm very impressed with what I see with Gaskin overall. So also 6 catches for 36 yards in the passing game. So he's also somebody very active there too. Um, so yeah, I'm going to go with a B minus there. At receiver, we covered a lot of it, but Mike Gesicki had a phenomenal game, and Fitzpatrick was going at him a lot. And this guy has magnetic hands. I mean, it's quite amazing to see. His one-handed catch was almost a Rondé Gadsden 2002 with that special catch. 8 catches, 130 yards today. Parker 5 for 53. Isaiah Ford, I really dogged last week, but I thought he did a very good job getting open. Preston Williams had, other than the 26-yard catch, he had a pretty bad game there. But so he drags the grade down. But overall, again, 328 yards in the passing game, 28 points. You can't argue with that. So I'm going to go with a B plus for the receivers and tight ends.
I'm gonna be right there with you. I think not only did Preston Williams drag this grade down, I think Durham Smythe did, and it's not his fault that he's on the field. It's the coach's fault that he's out there. But again, if he's not going to be a huge factor in the running game and he's not really going to be a huge factor in the passing game, he drags it down. I did like seeing the ball get spread around a little bit more this week than what we saw last week. Um, Seeing Isaiah Ford do well, I've always been a fan of his right out of the draft. Um, and really seeing Gesicki make me eat some of my words about Dallas Goddard in that draft. I'll take that too. So yeah, I'll be right there with you on that.
Yeah, they'll be fascinating to see as we go along because Goddard's playing well in Philly too. But I don't know if he can do quite the things Gesicki can do as an athlete. Offensive line, I think part of what makes this offensive line better is Fitzpatrick's ability to get rid of the ball quickly. I think that helps with it. But even when he's not getting rid of the ball quickly, I think Austin Jackson again very much looks the part. And if the Dolphins can come out of this year with Robert Hunt, uh, Solomon Kindley, and Austin Jackson as 3 starters heading into 2021, that is a huge win on that side of the ball because you're not having to invest so many resources in it. Bill's had 3 sacks. I'm going to have to look a little closer at the tape here tomorrow and over the next couple of days to see how they did on a down-to-down basis. But other than Jesse Davis, I thought they passed the test there. So I'm going to give them a solid B.
I think 3 of the 5 passed the test. Karras just did okay. There were times where I saw him just not know who to block and not hit anybody. Meanwhile, it was on plays that the line ended up breaking down. Um, but yeah, Jesse Davis had a rough game at times today, and I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with a B minus as well, mainly because the rookie's playing so well and what that means for the future.
On the defensive side of the ball, obviously, like we've said, a very, very ugly day. I mean, 417 passing yards, 111 rushing yards. You're talking 528 yards. So the grades aren't going to be kind here. Defensive line, other than Christian Wilkins and maybe an okay job by Davin Gotcha, terrible. I mean, Raekwon Davis, terrible. Shaq Lawson, terrible. Emmanuel Agba got a few pressures, and he does have talent, but overall, not good either. So, and this is the biggest problem with this roster right now, and it's a shame because of all the resources that they put into it. So, I'm not giving him any higher than a D.
I'm going to go with a C minus. It's this unit probably was more all over the place than any other unit on the field for me, performance wise. It's allowing 111 yards to the Bills in a game where the Bills had the lead throughout most of the game. The Bills were trying to eat clock at times. The Bills have a very mobile quarterback in Josh Allen. I think they did well overall containing the run, which sounds weird at 111 yards, but I think we saw that run defense from them go up this week overall, especially since they got off to a little bit of a rough start in this one with that. But the pass rush just dissolved at times, and you could see the effect it had on every level behind them. Christian Wilkins is definitely stepping into his role here in year two, and Davin Godchow continues to play well overall. Although I thought he had a tendency on a couple of plays to pick a side and unfortunately leave a gaping hole.
Yeah, Gotcha to me is just another guy, and on this, from what we're seeing on the defensive line, I guess that's not necessarily a bad thing, but he's going to be a free agent after the year. We'll see what happens there. Linebacker, I I know Jerome Baker was very active today. I didn't have a huge problem with the linebackers. I didn't think they played great. I didn't think they played necessarily poorly. One thing that really hurt, one of the biggest plays of the game by the Bills was it was 2nd and 24, and Cole Beasley runs across the middle and goes against the linebackers and outruns Jerome Baker. And that to me is a play that if we're going to take these hits with Jerome Baker and run defense, he's got to be able to run with a slower receiver in Cole Beasley, and he didn't. So that was a shame to see. Nobody else really stepping up at the linebacker spot. Kyle Van Noy, look, Kyle Van Noy is not going to make explosive plays, but he needs to take what's there. And when Josh Allen, when you sniff out a play and Josh Allen throws the ball right in your hands late in the fourth, or middle of the fourth quarter, you got to make that play. That's those big plays, and that veteran experience is why they signed him. So overall, at the linebacker spot, I'm going to go with a C minus.
Yeah, I want to touch on one other thing with Kyle Van Noy here. It's one of the biggest roles when you're playing linebacker is if you are there, you step up and you fill that hole. You don't let the running back come through the hole to you. You're leaving a lane on either side of you at that point, rather than stepping up and filling. There is no gap at that point. Make your tackle. And there were several plays I saw today where Van Noy didn't step up into the hole and instead played catch with the running back. And I'll give him credit on that one read in the fact that he might not have come away with the interception, but he almost did. But again, it's I'm not seeing what I hope to from Van Noy here thus far. I know we're only 2 games in. Hopefully, we see it. I don't have a huge problem with Jerome Baker. I know he didn't hang with Beasley on that one. There should have been some help there. It's anytime you put a linebacker on a wide receiver. I don't care if they're a slower one. You've got to at least spy for help there, and it didn't happen. And I think Baker is still part of the heart and soul of this D, and I don't think he's the problem. I think as we see the D line improve, we'll see Baker's play improve. But they didn't get it done today. I'm going to go with a D plus. I'm going to go a shade below you, Cat.
And in the secondary, obviously destroyed today. There's no easy way to say it. Whether you want to blame the secondary or blame the defensive line, was not good enough. Over 400 yards by Josh Allen, his first career 400-yard game. Stephon Diggs had an incredible day, 8 catches for over 150 yards. He also, in the first drive when Byron Jones got hurt, he catches that pass, he might go the distance on that. So running free all day. Cole Beasley also gets open several times for some big catches. John Brown puts the dagger in the heart of the Dolphins uh, in that play where Xavier Howard took credit for that, but also Bobby McCain didn't quite get to the spot fast enough either. So, you know, I can't just blanket forgive this unit for such a terrible day on the stat sheet simply because of no pass rush, even though that's a huge part of it. So I can't give them any higher than a D either.
I'm going to go C minus here. I think the pass rush did hurt them. I think some of the coverage calls were bad at times and they suffered for it. I think there were some blown coverages. Eric Rowe had a beautiful play that really broke up a pass that should have been caught. It almost was caught, and it damn near ended up being a fumble. Would have liked to see Byron Jones out there. I know Nick Needham got called on a couple that really were questionable, but end of the day, I didn't have a huge problem with the secondary. I think they were being asked to piss into the wind with the lack of a pass rush here.
Yeah, pass rush definitely didn't make it easy for him. And yeah, Nick Needham had a terrible game. There's no doubt about it. I think we kind of saw why he didn't get a snap in the first couple of or the first week. He did play well given the circumstances at the end of last year, but definitely not today. Special teams, Jason Sanders nails a 50-something yard field goal here right before halftime. That was huge. It brought the Dolphins within a touchdown, and then the Dolphins got the ball back at the beginning of the second quarter when it seemed like the Dolphins were dominated in the first half. So that was big. Matt Hawk, we talk about him up and down and up and down. His first two punts, he pins the Bills inside the 6-yard line, and he had a very, very good day. And not any real, unless I'm missing something, not any glaring weaknesses there in the special teams unit. So I'm going to go with an A- for him.
Damn it, Cat. They were going to be an A- for me too. It's Hawk pinned the Bills so deep so many times today. It's mind-boggling how he can play on a week in and week out basis. We've talked about it at length, so I won't beat a dead horse there. But again, I thought the return game did well today overall. I think the coverage units were good. It's special teams didn't cost the team the game.
That's for sure. So let's to wrap it up here. Let's talk about the player of the game and the Coke Bus player of the game for you.
I'm stealing Gesicki for player of the game. You're gonna have to pick somebody else. He was such a revelation today. The emotion we saw from him, and the way that he played, the way he snatched that ball from defenders left and right. He won at the point of the catch numerous times. So I'll go with Gesicki here as my player of the game. For my Coke Bus player of the game here, God, I'm going to go with Raekwon Davis. As much as there are a number of other people like Shaq Lawson and others, Jesse Davis. I'm going to go with Raekwon. He is supposed to be this. All he's got to be is a mountain of meat in the middle of that defensive line, and he can't even seem to do that, even given his size. It's very tough for me in this one. I really wanted to give it to Preston Williams, but I'm going to go Raekwon Davis.
Yeah, it's if after you took Gesicki there, I'm having difficulty finding somebody else. I mean, I didn't see a lot of players who had great games in this one. The defensive side of the ball, I couldn't pick anybody.
Give it to the corner. Give it to the corner.
No, I did that twice last year.
Do it again.
And
it makes me happy because I know you're going to dog him next week. When
the reason I'm not going to give it to him is because the defense let up long drives, and so it didn't have a meaningful impact on the game. I'm close with it, but I'm going to give it to Myles Gaskin. I thought that he played a very good game that exceeded what you see on the stat sheet. I think he's very good in the pass game. He blocks well. He doesn't look like somebody who can break tackles, but he does. And so it seems like every time he gets the ball, he exceeds expectations. That's what I like right now. And kudos to him for that.
Not everybody's expectations, Cat. Not everybody.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You liked him coming out. I thought he was useless, even though he was one of two running backs of all time to come out of college and have over 1,100 total or 1,100 rushing yards in 4 consecutive years. So I may be off with the numbers, but it's something like that. He and Ron Dane were the two players that did that. Anyway, I'm getting far off. So my Coke Bus player of the game, Davis is a good one. I'm going to go with Nick Needham. I thought he got destroyed all game. Noah Igbenogany did as well. Um, but Needham really had a chance after getting no snaps last week to step up with Byron Jones's injury. And instead of looking like a good football player, he was a complete liability from the first quarter to the fourth quarter. So he's going to get the Coke Bus player of the game there.
So, Kat, I want to make sure we tell folks here, make sure you're liking and subscribing to the channel. We're not going to beat you to death with it, but go ahead and click those buttons for us, would you?
Yeah, smash those buttons there, and yeah, let us know if you have any questions from week to week. We have a shortened week here. Play the Jaguars on Thursday. It's going to be tough. Jaguars are a better team than we thought. They won week 1 against the Colts, lost today 33-30 to the Ryan Tannehill led Tennessee Titans, and Gardner Minshew's on fire right now. So
like that guy too.
Yeah, you liked him too. So there's no doubt about that. So that's going to do it for our show here. The Dolphins lose 31-28 to the Buffalo Bills. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. I'm Brian Cat NFL on Twitter. Paul is fanatic_pick. And if it's not on the right side and it's not on the left side, it is on the fin side. So D, take us home.